What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Dank Ferric. Today we are going to be doing another Star Wars What If. Today we are going to ask the question, what would happen to Luke and Leia if Padme had sided with Anakin on Mustafar? And yes, to do this we are going to have to eliminate a few factors of the main story, but still it's all worth considering what would have come if just a few things were different. Now, of course, to begin, we have to make it clear that in the original tale, Padme is very loyal to the Republic, and she's devout to democracy and to the light. But we're going to dive into this question by saying that Padme sees what Palpatine did, and she sees what the Clone Wars did to the Republic. So when Anakin says we can overthrow him and make our new empire, she sees it as a chance to shape the galaxy into what was lost in the Clone Wars, to build back all of the liberty that has died since it began. And with that, let's get into it. We will begin as Anakin Skywalker comes to the landing pad on Mustafar and is greeted by his pregnant wife. She would still be just as disturbed as ever, knowing about the turn of her husband. Their confrontation would go as we know it, almost. But right before Obi-Wan revealed himself, Anakin would instead convince Padme to see his reasoning, and with the logic that I mentioned earlier, she comes to side with him. It would be a chance for her to restore all that has been lost within the era of the Clone Wars. However, Obi-Wan would soon reveal himself, and with Padme now on Anakin's side and putting up no argument or defiance against his turn, Anakin would engage with the duel as we know it from the film. It would also end the same way. Except this time, as the two old friends fought, Padme would be taking refuge inside the Mustafar mining installation. So when Anakin was finally defeated, she would run down to him on the banks, awaiting the Emperor at his side. So Anakin, no matter what, would become more machine than man. That would happen regardless. Obi-Wan, however, would only escape with R2 and 3PO, retreating to Master Yoda. But now, as we jump ahead in our story, keep in mind that it is what comes after Mustafar that matters, because Padme accepting this is more about what comes of the children, of the twins, of Luke and of Leia. Their fates changed entirely, and more importantly in our story, Padme survives the birth. The Skywalkers become a clan of 4 as the Empire takes its first steps into the galaxy. Some odd years later, the children would be growing, and Anakin, or Vader rather, would be fueled by his hate for Obi-Wan more than his pain for losing Padme, as in our version, she was never lost. He now had his family here, so revenge for being crippled by his former master was his tap into the dark side, his well of power. And with that, as the children reached 9 or 10, we would find Vader and Padme standing on the terrace of Vader's castle. They would often look down into a shielded training yard. This is where Luke and Leia would begin sparring at a young age, experimenting with their Force abilities and sensitivity. The twins had Skywalker blood within them, and their father was a Dark Lord of the Sith. Even with the rule of 2 in place, he could still train them in these dark arts of the Force, and he would do just that. He would do it because his dark mind told him that it was just. Luke, you see, he was the strongest of the twins, and he would become his father's prodigy. As he grew older, he would accompany his father on some missions and tasks, taking on black attire and a crimson blade. Then we have Leia. She would no doubt be the clear daughter of her mother Padme. She would feel a calling to politics and policy for a time, to do what she feels is good for the galaxy. But instead of the original version, Leia now did this from the twisted Imperial point of view, the view she was raised to know, love, and accept. However, Leia too would be trained in the dark side. It wasn't only Luke. She would regularly be given lessons along with her brother, all by their father. He sensed the power in both twins, and he would show them how to tap into it. But eventually Anakin would still have to learn the lesson of his dark deeds. That cannot change in any version of this story. The dark side may bring immediate or temporary pleasure and happiness, but it is not everlasting, it's not eternal. And so, by bringing his children and wife into the dark folds of the Force and into the heights of the Empire, he would subject them to what could be an unfortunate fate. So no matter what, Whether Padme lived or died, or whether the children grew up with their parents or not, Anakin would see firsthand what his choices had brought him. What that could be, I'll leave up to your imaginations, but just think of the consequences of going this route, the consequences if they stayed together. Eventually, Anakin would have to bring balance to the Force, even as Vader. That also cannot change. However, now it is more in balance than ever, and the counterweights are his own beloved children. So, I implore you, just think on that. Thanks for checking out this Dank Ferrick Star Wars What If. I know that I certainly had fun with this one. If there's one you guys want to see, let me know. I'm happy to work with whatever you're interested in. After all, we are creating community and there should be community interests. So if there is a what if you want to see, let me know in the comments. But until next time, stay safe and may the Force be with you, always.